Hi. I wasn't gonna make this video. There have I didn't want to be seen as capitalizing off of a pandemic. Uh, there have been plenty of people who have done just that, peddling snake oil and magical solutions that do more harm than good. Um, but people asked me to comment on it in an official capacity, and the more I thought about it, magic is all about uh, enchanting for a better life, reducing harm, and so it would be insane not to. Certainly, disease prevention and healing are well within the magical purview of history. So here I am. I want to talk about 5 different points regarding the pandemic in relation to strategic sorcery. First point that I want to make is about information. This is where most of us are right now. Um, and we live in the most information rich time in human history. So you can definitely enchant, you can pray to Hermes, you can pray to Manjushri, whatever, to get more information. But are you really lacking information? No. The test right now is to weed out the bad information and get to the best information. So I'm urging you to focus deep and not wide. The CDC, the World Health Organization, other scientific bodies. And this is also a time to, by scientists, I mean people that are issuing statements and papers from those bodies directly to you. The scientist that your friend on Facebook had dinner with the other night and has given you this thing turns out to have been passed to that person by someone else, and its origin is God knows where. Uh, could be good, could be a hacker, could be anything. So again, focus on where you're getting your information from, because I'm seeing a lot of terrible information out there. The next thing is the frequency that you expose yourself to information. This is also part of going deep and not wide. I strongly recommend everyone come up with 3 times a day at the max that they inform themselves about the pandemic. So 3 times a day, check in with those news sources. Any more than that, and you start to slide into the sort of information coma that people slid into after 9/11, spending weeks on the couch glued to cable news. So this is one of those things where, if you really love one show, then watch that one show. But cable news to keep on in the background is actually a terrible thing. And people sometimes, I don't know, they think they need to be the first informed. If it's important, if it's big, you'll find out about it. And you'll find out quickly enough. Unless you are in media or in medicine, you don't need to know before everyone else. There's no prize. So, 3 times a day, don't drive yourself crazy. Be really skeptical of any information or any media that seems deliberately geared to feeding either your anxiety or your tendency for dismissal. This is not the end of the world, but it ain't nothing. So I've seen a lot of people just angry that people are doing the social distancing. And what I hope is that those people this summer are puffing out their chests, talking about how this was all a nothing burger, and that, look, it was barely anything. And the reason that they'll be doing that is because the social distancing and hand washing and cancellations worked, and it didn't spread as widely. So again, just don't feed either anxiety or dismissal. And the last thing about information is meditation. Take the time to meditate. And by meditate, I mean focusing on one thing at the exclusion of all else, 20 minutes at least, preferably 2 sessions a day, but, one session is fine. Focus in on that one thing. What does this do for you? Well, as you focus in on the mantra or the breath, thoughts arise and you recognize your own distraction and you release yourself from them and you get back to the breath. This pumps up the one muscle that recognizes distraction, recognizes when you're doing the thing that you've willed yourself not to do, but you're doing it out of habit. You recognize it and disengage. That's the one muscle. The other muscle is the muscle that gets back to the thing that you've disciplined yourself to do, that actually exercises control over the mind. These 2 muscles are extremely important right now. So meditation is the best way I can think of for you to get them. Let's move on to the next point. Point number 2 is prevention. This is what the magic is all about. This is probably what most of you are watching this video for. So first, let me tell you, no sorcery, no magic, no witchcraft should replace the mundane steps like social distancing and hand washing. The entire spark that lit strategic sorcery is in fact the union and interplay of magical and non-magical methods so that you can find those enchantment points that make all the difference, that you can improve things that way. So if you walk away from this video thinking, well, I'm much more relaxed now and I can go to the gym and do whatever I want because now I've got the mantras or the amulets or whatever, you've taken the wrong message. So let's get into the magic. The first thing to know is that the traditions and deities that you already have a relationship with are best. If you have a lifelong relationship with Hecate and you have no exposure to Tibetan Buddhism, you shouldn't listen to this or someone else or someone saying, oh, this is the mantra that this Lama recommends, and think, oh, well, I guess I better do that. Go deep, not wide. Go deep, not wide. There is no one spirit, no one mantra that is the panacea for COVID-19. So go deep, not wide. Go deep into the powers that you already know. In strategic sorcery, we deal a lot with Hecate, and we deal a lot with Helios and Roman deities. Hecate is amazing for healing, both in terms of her ability to rout out illness with her torches, but also to protect one and keep it away and overcome obstacles. Helios, the same. Those of you who are in all of my courses, I will be issuing course-specific materials that might be of use to you in the days ahead. And the reason that it's not here is simply that, well, people undergo a half a year or a year of training so that they can do things based on that training. So I'll be issuing statements within courses. But in general, going to the Orphic hymns. Athena, I had a dream about Athena the other night. Goddess of strategy, protection, and warfare, and wisdom. What could be better at this time? But even if you are, people don't think of how everything interrelates. So let's say you have a deep relationship with Ares, god of war, then wage war against this. There is an angle. If you are a devotee of Jupiter and Juno and powers of increase wellness, increase stability. These are all part of their purview. Those of you who are interested in Tibetan Buddhism, I am focused on Sidpa Jalmo. I have a tanka of her over there, and her mantra is Om Abiha Ngakbo Badsod Soha. Om Abiha Ngakbo Badsod Soha. She is a Bumpo goddess. In fact, I'll get her right now. So, Bumpo Dakini, that there is a healing practice associated for. She carries a sword and a... why can't I get this right? There we go. And a long life vase. And there are many healing practices associated with her. Be careful. Be careful of some traditional practices. So, for instance, there are 10 healing herbs that you are traditionally for her practices to place in water and then bathe in them. But one of them is aconite and the other one is arsenic. So I'm not bathing in that. So I have seen people use different teas and things like that. So I'll be preparing her water and her flag and so on. You can say her mantra, and if you can write her mantra on a piece of cloth, and you can say the mantra 1,000 or 10,000 times. It's said to hang a flag with her mantra written on a sword helps mitigate disease for a 2-mile radius. It is said that to take that same flag for travelers and to ball it up and then wear it as a neckerchief is also an effective prophylactic against disease and things like this. But again, I just want to remind people, no matter what the amulet is, no matter what the magic is, it is not meant to make you go boldly into infected areas or think that you don't need to distance yourself. I'm doing magic around this, but my kids are also home from school. So read into that. Less wrathful healers, Sitapatra, the white Tara of the parasol, white parasol practice. She shields one from the difficulties and dangers. Her mantra is Om Sitata Patre Hum Pet. And then, of course, another favorite of mine is white Tara. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, saying this 108 at least, or 1,000 times, or 10,000 times, followed by Om Tare Tutare Mam Ayu Punye Jnana Pushtim Kuru Swaha, while you see white Tara imbuing you with health and blessing you 7 to 21 times. So those are all Buddhist recommendations. If you are practicing in the Christian milieu, there's of course the Archangel Raphael, well-known healer. We also have the 14 holy helpers. These are saints that collectively were relied upon during the plague. Saint Christopher, Saint Giles, Saint Denis, Saint Blaise, Saint Erasmus, Barbara, Vitus, and so on. You can look up 14 holy helpers. But they're useful. There's also a set of 3 virgins that are incredibly beneficial for disease that were taken as a group of 3. And in this, we have St. Catherine and her wheel, St. Barbara and her tower, and St. Margaret and the dragon. And so I encourage you to look up traditional prayers and practices associated with them. I am in the process of making a small parchment talisman combining the imagery of the wheel, the tower, and the dragon. So, you know, when that's done, I'll probably post it somewhere. But again, it's about who you already have relationships with. So many of my students have relationships with Saint Cyprian and Saint Justina. If you're in the Black School program, there's a lot of magic that you're probably already thinking of using for this. But prayers to Saint Cyprian and Saint Justina for health abound throughout the world. So you can look for those, or you can just pray to them from the heart and ask for their intercession. If you lean to the demonic side of things, Vepar, Marbas, Buer, 3 demons from the Ars Goetia that are excellent for healing. I've used their seals in healing efforts. Marbas and Buer in particular work well together in these sort of leonine strength that they can lend, the lion's strength that they can lend. So just some thoughts. I was taught when I was a kid to take cascarilla, and I'm actually embarrassed because I'm out. But cascarilla is a chalk made from eggshell and egg whites, the stuff of life, and to make a band around each arm and then cross it 3 times, representing the 3 nails of Christ that nail down anything that you might come into contact with through the hands. So cascarilla there. Also to take a bit of cascarilla, rub it on the inside of a hat. If you wear a hat or a cap, place it on the head. Inside the chalk, you can trace a protective seal. I'll be posting one of the Fires of Fortune seals that were delivered from Jupiter and Juno that relate to bodily health, good fortune for bodily health. So I'll be posting that below wherever this video appears. The next point after prevention is healing. Okay? Prevention, there's no such thing as foolproof security. It doesn't exist. So you can get sick, even with everything that I've told you. So again, be careful. Largely, the same powers get prayed to. The consecration of various teas and medicines, even the medicines that are prescribed to you, can be prayed over and consecrated. Targeted, this is also a time to rely upon other people. Because, of course, your immunity is down. Doing massive amounts of magic is probably not something you have a lot of energy for. This is what strong communities are for. And so I want to say something about energetic healing and ritual healing and things like this. A lot of people get into the idea of healing their community and healing the country and healing the world. And truth be told, there's benefit in this. It increases one's view. So, for instance, from a sort of Buddhist standpoint, where one is supposed to be working on behalf of all sentient beings, this is a wonderful thing to do. But the benefit is for you, the person doing it. What level you are able to tap into the suffering of others or into the problems of others on such a massive scale can feed into your space or your body and feel like you're doing the most massive amount of work you've ever done. And you feed this back out. You're feeding, purity or healing out, and it can feel like you are just on fire with the Holy Spirit, or with angelic grace, or with powers of sorcery, or however you're doing it. But here's the thing. For the people that actually need help, it does nothing. Like, next to nothing. So my recommendation is to work targeted. This is a time for people to focus on the people around them, best physically, and if not, at least the people in your sphere of mercy, the people that you know, the people that they know, your family, your friends, your community, the people that you have real contact with and you can respond to their needs. If you do that, then those efforts might yield some benefit for the person who actually needs it. Even if it takes less effort or feels less grand to you. So there's that. The next point I wanted to cover is financial. For the most part, the stock market, leave it alone unless you know what you're doing. If you have a mind like, when the S&P gets down to this number, I'm buying in because I have a good cash position, then that's up to you. I don't want to talk about that. In general, though, my advice is the very cliche: keep calm and carry on, but slightly differently. So if you run a business, expect a downturn for a week, a few weeks maybe, but position yourself so that when things start to turn up, because right now, more than anything, everyone's attention is on this. So even online businesses like mine are sort of like at a standstill because no one's thinking about anything other than this right now. But when things move, be positioned to serve. If you don't run a business, if you're sent home from your job, try your best to get by. Keep going, but slightly differently. It sucks, and it's going to suck a lot for some of us more than for others. But as always, sorry about that. If you want to make more money, the question is, how can I be of service? First. That's the first question. Always. It's not, how can I take advantage of this downturn? It's not, how can I take advantage of what's going on? It's about, how can I serve people when they're ready to be served and need things? And there's innumerable ways that can be accomplished. And it also brings me to my last point, which is community. Listen, if you're well, if you're young, if you don't have a lot of people in your life that can get sick, that are either old or immunocompromised or have respiratory issues, then you're in an amazing position to be of help to people that are. Go shopping for them. Or even if you're in a community where everyone is sort of in the same boat, if you send one person out to the store, then that's less chance that your community picks up the virus. It's a way of collaborating. Last week, I made a video about individualist and collectivist solutions. And what I said there and what I really believe is that there are times for each. And that ultimately, groups are grammatical fiction. So even within a collectivist solution, the individual within that collective has to have the motivation, has to have the ability and the ability to take action. So do work for your community, both magical work and the real work of helping out when and where you can. Obviously, if you're in the medical community, then you don't need me to tell you what you can do. But even if you're not, you can be of immense service. Even just bringing in someone's packaging, shoveling their walk if it snows. If you're a single parent and you know other single parents, well, what happens if you get sick? Who takes care of the kid who is not going to get as sick? Now is the time for networking and coming together and doing magic to make that happen. Well, that's it. That's all I got. If you're in my courses, sometime over the next few days, you'll be getting little pinpoints of things that you can do. But in general, if you are at all involved in strategic sorcery at any level, keep these 5 points in mind. Act strategically and with good sorcery. And thank you.